Warning: viewer discretion is advised. Hi friends, welcome to Meals 10 Alive For, where we talk about a true crime case and make a death row meal from scratch. I'm your host Jody Breton, and if you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, all the things, so please come find me and follow me. Today we're talking about a female murderess. She was dubbed the Black Widow, and her name was Judy Buenoano. Judy was born on April 4th, 1943 in Quina, Texas, as Judith Anna Lou Weddy. Judy had two older siblings and one younger brother. The two older siblings happened to be half-siblings, though. When Judy was 4, her mother, Mary Lou Northam, died of tuberculosis. As a result, Judy and her younger brother, Robert, were sent to live with their grandparents. Later on, Judy's father, Jesse Otto Weddy, remarried and moved Judy and her brother to Roswell, New Mexico. Judy claimed that she was abused by her father and stepmother by starving her and treating her like a slave. I also saw a source claim that the abuse never happened, so I can't say for certain what happened, but Judy would end up attacking her dad and her stepmom with some hot grease at the age of 14. She spent 2 months in prison, and upon release, she chose to attend a reform school where she graduated in 1960. Judy became a nursing student, and 1 year later, she would have her first child, Michael, in March 30th, 1961. Judy wouldn't say who the father of her son was, but it was rumored that it was a soldier from the local base. Later on, Judy would meet a man named James Goodyear, a sergeant for the U.S. Air Force, and they would marry on November 21st, 1962. Judy and James would go on to have 2 children together, James Jr. in 1966 and Kimberly in 1967. At this point, the family was living in Orlando, Florida, where James was stationed. Judy opened her first business, a child care center, and took care of the children while James served a year in Vietnam and returned in June 1971. Judy would say that James came home sick and never recovered, but reports say that he passed a physical upon his return and didn't start complaining about health problems until 3 months later. James saw a military doctor for stomach pains and chills on September 1st. 2 weeks later, he died of apparent natural causes. Due to James' untimely death, Judy received $95,000. In today's money, that would be $750,000. Very soon after the passing of her husband, Judy would collect another $90,000 from a house fire. In 1972, Judy meets Bobby Joe Morris and her family moves to Pensacola in with Bobby. Then in 1977, Bobby moved to Colorado and Judy followed, but not before she fell victim to yet another house fire, which brought her another insurance claim. A few months later, Bobby started suffering from mysterious symptoms and was admitted to the hospital. Some of the symptoms included nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Doctors ended up releasing Bobby, but he collapses at home and is admitted back. 2 days later, on January 23rd, 1978, Bobby dies. Judy once again collects money from insurance policies that she took out on Bobby. A couple years later, in 1980, Judy's son Michael Goodyear joins the U.S. Army and was to be stationed in Fort Benning in Georgia. On his way to Georgia, he stopped to visit Judy at her house in Florida. Shortly arriving at Fort Benning, he began to show symptoms of poisoning, and doctors found a high level of arsenic in his blood. A few weeks later, Michael's muscles in his arms and legs atrophied to the point he couldn't use his hands and required metal braces to walk. Michael was discharged from the military and returned to his mother back home in Florida. In this part of the story, I was very confused because they had obviously found traces of arsenic and they knew that he visited his mother beforehand. So did they just think that that wasn't a possibility? I thought that was very odd that she wasn't investigated during that time, but I don't really know. I don't have all the facts on that, and I don't know why it wasn't correlated together. On May 13th, 1980, Judy takes her two sons out on a canoe on the Florida East River. The canoe was overturned. James and Judy were able to swim to shore, but since Michael was wearing his heavy metal braces, he drowned. Judy would collect $20,000 from Michael's military life insurance, an additional $105,000 from private insurance. Once again, nobody thought anything was wrong. This poor man was poisoned, was released to his mother, and then drowned literally the weekend that he came home, and nobody thought anything of it. I think that that's insane, personally. With the insurance money Judy received, she opened a beauty salon called Fingers and Faces. Ooh, I don't know why I don't like that name, but I really just don't. It's weird. Then in February 1981, Judy meets John Gentry, who was a wallpaper salesman. The couple met at a mud wrestling match. And if you were like me and you were like, what's a mud wrestling match? It's where two people, from my understanding, it tends to be women who will get in a puddle of like mud or like a kiddie pool of mud and wrestle in the mud. So boy, was that interesting for me to find out about. Gentry fell in love with Judy, and in 1982, the two took insurance policies out on each other for $50,000. Judy raised the amount to $500,000 without Gentry knowing. John Gentry had a quote that described when he first saw Judy. Judy was standing at the bar, all dressed in black. She wore black quite a lot. In fact, psychologically, I think that says a lot about her. Well, that's just rude in my opinion. By 1983, the seemingly happy couple were in love, or so Gentry thought. Judy was right there to give Gentry vitamins when he complained of a cold. However, they made him dizzy and nauseous, and when he complained, Judy told him to double the dose. Gentry became so sick he checked himself into the hospital and refused to take more of Judy's vitamins. On June 25th, 1983, Judy, then 40, told Gentry that she was pregnant. They had met for dinner at the Driftwood restaurant near downtown Pensacola, and he left to get champagne to celebrate. Only Judy wasn't pregnant at all. When Gentry started his car, it exploded. Police said she placed 5 sticks of dynamite in the trunk. Gentry was seriously hurt but survived, and police began to take a look into Judy and the death that surrounded her. Gentry had kept 2 of the vitamins, and when police tested them, they found paraformaldehyde. Judy was arrested and tried for the attempted murder on July 27, 1983. Police exhumed the bodies of James Goodyear and Bobby Joe Morris. James had a lethal amount of arsenic in his system, and Bobby had massive amounts of thorazine, a drug typically used to sedate large animals. Judy was charged and sentenced to 12 years in prison for the attempted murder of John Gentry. Judy's son, James Jr., was charged as an accomplice. The state contended that he wired Gentry's car, but in a separate trial, the then 18-year-old was acquitted. Judy was tried and convicted of James Goodyear's murder, and she received the death penalty. Prosecutors decided not to pursue a case regarding Bobby Joe Morris since she was already on death row. Judy and Bobby Morris were allegedly involved in a separate murder of a man named Ben Sherrod. A quote from Ben's son, Michael Sherrod, said, "My father, Ben Sherrod, was the man Morris and Buenoano killed in Brewton, Alabama in 1974. It was the only murder there that year. His case was never officially solved, but I know she was guilty. My father was tied to a chair before he was stabbed numerous times and shot in the head. Personally, I'm glad Morris died a horrible death, and I can only hope that Buenoano was absolutely terrified before she rode the lightning. She got what she deserved." Judy never once admitted fault in any of her trials and always maintained her innocence. She was on death row for almost 13 years. Alex Hawkins, Judy's grandson, was quoted saying, I want to bring some truth because her family, myself, my mother, my uncle, were the only true descendants of Judy. She was a good Catholic woman who had never done anything wrong until she was arrested. She was the victim of circumstance. She would do a lot of charitable aspects in the Catholic Church. Judy was executed on March 30th, 1998 by electric chair. Judy had no last words, but her last meal was asparagus, broccoli, strawberries, tomato wedges, and hot tea. Since this meal didn't take very long, I did prepare an apple blackberry tart with an apple cocktail just so that I could have more film time. If I'm rating just the last meal that Judy picked, I would give it maybe a 3 out of 10. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but it was a lot of fruits and veggies, and it just wasn't something that I would personally pick for my last meal. Of course, I like fruits and veggies. It's not super exciting. What did you guys think about this case and this last meal? Let me know down in the comments. And if there's a case that you want me to cover, let me know about that too. And as usual, guys, please like and subscribe. That's how we grow and I can continue to put out more content. Again, we're on Spotify, YouTube, all the things. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.